March into publishing is marching on. So we have arrived where I reached a crossroads in my career as an author and as a publishing coach. So I had been in the arts for over a decade at this point, and I had published a number of books. And because I published a number of books with excellence, I was in demand as a publisher. Because of that, I also was asked to speak outside of the faith based arena. Now, I started in the faith based arena, and that's where my audience was, that's where my passion was. However, when people asked me to come speak at business events about publishing, I didn't have a book that fit. So, I want to talk with you about what to do when your market and your message expands. So then I had to transition from my first several books, and here's a stack of those, right? These books were faith based. All of them had an element of being faith based in them. So that was the community that I knew at the time. But when I started to expand and when my expertise started to extend, I needed books to fit that. So it wasn't a shame thing, it was an audience thing, it was a demographic thing, it was understanding the market. So I allowed my expertise to expand. And so it's not that I was restricted to faith based, but I had to make my message travel a little bit easier when I went into mainstream audiences. Okay, so as my exposure grew, as my expertise grew, as I was growing as a speaker, I needed a crossover project. So I decided to publish ABCs of Authorship, Building Blocks for Emerging Authors. And this was 2016. So remember, my first book was published in 2010. So 6 years later, I began to cross over and publish a book that was more mainstream. So I got a great cover, made sure that my back was great, right? So that I had a book for the mainstream. And here's also where I made another pivot. So 2015, I moved to Texas. I lived in Vegas 2005 to 2015. 2015, I moved to Texas. At the time that I moved to Texas, I had a publishing company called Renaissance Publications. I thought that it was so creative. I love to be creative. So I'm like, Renaissance is like the kingdom again. You know, here comes the kingdom again. Baby, people were spelling it Renaissance. And no matter how many times I tried to say Renaissance, they defaulted to Renaissance. So I realized that I had a brand that was not sticking. So the last book I did was brand Renaissance Publications right there. So when I moved to Texas, I needed a new LLC. I had an LLC, Renaissance Publications LLC in Vegas. So when I relocated to Texas in 2015, I started a new LLC, which was Get Right LLC. Okay. So with that, I also got a new brand mark, Get Right Publishing. So this was the very first book I published under Get Right Publishing. And I would always tell my authors, get right, get right, get right. My very first training for authors was called Get Right Church. And remember, my first book in publishing was Get Right Church. So I took that same brand that I had been building and saying and tell people to get right and get your life right and do the right thing, RITERT. And I love play on words. So I paid a person who was an expert at logo creation, and I got Get Right Publishing. I filed that LLC, and then I began to publish as Get Right Publishing. It changed everything. It was mainstream. So even though it could be a little spiritual or churchy, if you want to say that, people still hear Get Right, and then they hear WRITE. So every time, I like brands that stick. So every time someone says Get Right, they're going to think about my brand. I love East, go East that way too. Okay. So the ABCs of authorship was it. The reason why it allowed me to expand my brand is because when I went into the faith-based market, remember this was the original, this is the revised. So when I went into the faith-based market, I had two books to sell to authors. So not only did I have a course that I used this book in, but I also had an additional book that I could take to mainstream, right? that if I had Get Right Church, it was fine because I still take this book with me when I do mainstream events. But now I had something that was uniquely crafted to a general author population. So that gave me two books on writing. I want to encourage people who make excuses and you say, well, the subject that I'm writing on, there's lots of books out there about it. So what? They do not communicate it the way that you do. And I say it like this because John C. Maxwell has been an inspiration throughout my life. He has written how many books on the same subject of leadership? So if he can write 1,000,000 books on the same subject, I'm over exaggerating. That means that you can too. So I decided that I did not have to just be limited to one book on publishing. Now I had two different focuses, right? So this is more comprehensive, kind of a how-to A to Z book with a spiritual twist to it. This one was ABCs of authorship. So I literally found a letter in the alphabet for a category, and then I would give them information about D is for distribution, and then how to do that, editing. F is for formatting, G is for graphics. So this was an easy read. I love easy reads now, okay? An easy read guide that represented my brand well, that is excellent, that is well put together. Also, I started experimenting with finishes. This is a glossy book. You see the light, I saw the light. And this one is matte, right? So it's really, really smooth. And because it had like a wood type of design on it, I wanted it to feel different, and it feels really good. Okay, so you can have a glossy cover book. You can have a matte book if you're ordering like KDP. Now, if you want to get fancy, you can do foiling, embossing, debossing. You can do hardcover. You can do a book jacket. You can do so many different things that you want, but it will cost you, okay? These are pretty easy to produce at a low price point and still be excellent. Whereas if I wanted to upgrade something, I could do that. I would just pay a little bit more per item to do that, okay? So I want you to be honest with your brand and where you are. And sometimes you need a reintroduction. And so I moved from Rain, which was my very first business, to Renaissance, which was a play on it, as you could see, right? To Get Right Publishing, and now to the East Formula LLC. Okay, so entrepreneur, author, speaker, trainer. I had to find a way for all of my multi-talents to live under one brand. Okay, so A is for author, Get Right Publishing lands under A for authorship. So I want you to be okay with expanding. When your messaging expands, when your expertise expands, when your business prospects expand, you can expand along with that. Also, make sure that maybe you use the same brand mark for a long period of time, and it may be time for you to make it more modern or upgrade and invest in that. Anything that I am doing as a mainstream business, I make sure that I invest in the appearance of the way that it looks, because I want people to be able to pay me and to know that I know what I'm doing when it comes to branding, especially when you're talking about publishing and authorship. And is there one answer to how to do a book cover? No. But does it need to be captivating and capture your reader? Yes. People still judge books by their cover. Okay. I work with professionals to design covers. Sometimes that means I pay a little bit more money if I'm doing a different type of book. And it's challenging sometimes because, you know, I say you have to manage creative. So when I'm working with creatives, I'm like, hey, that book cover is due tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to seeing it today. Because a lot of times creatives take on a lot of clients because they're trying to make a monthly salary to pay their bills. So sometimes your stuff will get done the same day or at the last minute, and that just is what it is. And I know that because I've been in the industry for a minute. Okay, so sometimes you have to manage your projects instead of waiting. Be proactive about what is going on with your projects. There was a greater demand for my services, so I continued to develop specific answers to questions that people were having as I did more writing workshops and author workshops and business appearances. I had to then address other questions. Okay, so yes, you can expand your brand. Yes, you can expand your market. If you started in ministry, even if you're still there and you want to go mainstream, you can do that. So start to think about what answers does a mainstream audience need if you're going to a mainstream audience. So tomorrow, as I talk about how I expanded, you see my evolution from a dance and worship arts kind of leader to a publishing industry leader, which I didn't intend to do. It found me. I did it well, and for some reason, I'm that person. Teaching and training is my core talent. I'm that person who people random just come up and ask questions and ask me how to show them how to do things, and it still happens to this day. People were inboxing me, telling me, I will pay you to teach me. That's how I got into this. It's not because I think I'm so smart. Okay, so tomorrow, this was book number 8. ABC's Boss number 8 of 19. And I did a few different things, so I'll continue to share this over the month of March. And then tomorrow, I even honed down on my expertise a little more. So I'll share with you Book Publishing Master Plan, 5 Fast Phases for Profitable Publishing. And I'm going to show you how to create lead magnets to attract clients, FAQs, whatever. So these books I publish to sell. This book I publish for clients, and I'll show you how to do that tomorrow. So do not forget, we are marching into publishing. I have a live workshop March the 29th in Plano, Texas. March into Publishing is where you can go to find more information out about that. I am very excited about my schedule for 2025. I have bigger author events in the works. If you feel like traveling down to DFW or Dallas area and you want to come see me, just save May 31st on your calendar, okay? And I'm going to do something pretty big for authorship that day, and then continue even through the summer, and I'll announce that as I lock it down. Okay, so thank you so much. I hope that these videos are helpful. Thank you for all of your comments. Thank you for inspiring me to continue. Okay, hey, it's good to see you. Thank you for inspiring me to continue. And I'm just sharing this. And remember, when you book yourself, I talk about booking yourself. When we get to 7 ways of speaking, 7 ways to get speaking engagements, we'll talk about that. But book yourself. So going live, posting videos, this is a way that I get booked for additional speaking engagements. If they cannot find you speaking, and if they cannot find you talking about your expertise, it is harder for you to justify being booked and being paid to speak as a professional or expert in your industry, because you have to believe your message before anyone else will. All right, live it. All right, you all, I will be back. Today is Tuesday, Wednesday. Tomorrow, I will share Book Publishing Master Plan, and I will talk about the things that you need to do to develop the types of books that build your company, your audience specifically. Every book has a strategy. So I'll be back tomorrow, and then I will be out Thursday, Friday. That doesn't mean I won't give you any highlights and clips and tips and all of that stuff. Okay, and then next week, if you're in the DFW area on the 20th, I am co-host of a networking event. Come join me. My birthday is March the 21st. So come and join me, and I'll be doing a little celebration there. All right. All right. Talk to you very, very soon. Until later.